Incredible Marine and his K9 save crying girl, after shocking discovery of her mother's fate. Jake knelt by the park bench, feeling the weight of his past press against his chest like a boulder. He had thought he could find solace here, in this small hometown where he had grown up, but nothing was the same. The laughter of children was swallowed by the oppressive quiet, and the aura of distrust that hung in the air on those familiar streets stung deeper than he cared to admit. As he looked into the tear-streaked face of the small girl before him, his battle-hardened mind shattered. This was a different kind of warfare. "Why are you crying?" he asked gently, his words dripping with the remnants of a soldier's command. She paused, sniffing, her wide brown eyes drenched in sorrow as she choked out, "My mom. She's missing. The police. They won't help." Each word pierced Jake's heart. He recognized that hopelessness all too well. It echoed the cries of his comrades left behind in distant lands, men who had fought for something and felt empty when they returned, just like he did now. "Do you know where she might be?" He felt compelled to help, a visceral reaction igniting deep within him, a desire to protect this little girl. When she shook her head, more tears cascading down, Jake's heart twisted painfully. He remembered the darkness he had fought against, the helplessness of being a pawn in a game far too big for him. "I'll help you," he promised. But as he rose, a flicker of doubt caught in his throat. He didn't know how, didn't even truly know if he wanted to. As he and Max walked alongside her through the park, they encountered familiar faces. The postman, the grocer, neighbors whispering their unease into the air rather than asking questions. Each glance toward them deepened his guilt. Their eyes seemed to follow him with suspicion, as if he were another stranger, someone unrecognizable, unable to weave back into the fabric of this community. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications, so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they dug deeper, whispers turned into shouts of loyalty and resentment, a tumultuous sea of conflict surrounding him. The murmurs grew heavier, revealing that Emily's mother was considered trouble, an activist who championed veterans' rights and had ruffled feathers in this town of fated alliances. The irony struck him like a bullet, a woman fighting for others like him, and yet she remained unseen, unheard, and now, lost. Jake felt distinct lines drawn in the sand. The town was battling itself. He was caught in between the growing bond with Emily and the loyalty to a community that seemed to be turning its back on those who needed hope the most. As the weight of the past pressed upon him, he felt the strain in his chest flare, threatening to consume him. Confronted by a powerful figure in the community later that day, Jake felt the ground beneath him tremble. "Stay away from this," the man growled, words laced with an authority that reminded him of old chains. Jake's heart raced as he wrestled with the urge to stand down or push forward. Could he risk it all? His own tenuous reintegration, the safety of this girl, just to uncover the truth? Jake stood firm, muscles tensing, lungs tight with a mix of fear and determination. What would he choose? To save Emily and the fractured spirit of a woman he hardly knew, or succumb to the shadows of doubt that whispered his worthlessness? The path ahead darkened, tangled in murky moral dilemmas, and he could feel the mounting pressure of his own sanity teetering on the brink. He looked into Emily's eyes, a reflection of his own brokenness. The stakes were no longer just about her mother. This was about Jake's chance to finally reclaim the man he had lost somewhere on the battlefield. Jake felt the adrenaline drumming in his veins, the urgency clawing at him like an unseen foe. The confrontation had stirred something inside him. An ember of defiance began to spark. Emily was counting on him, and as he looked down at her brave little face, he knew he couldn't turn back. He had become a protector, even if it felt like a role he was still learning to fill. The whispering shadows of the town now loomed large, each secret and unexplored avenue calling out for confrontation. He needed information, a way to get closer to the truth behind Emily's mother's disappearance. He could not allow the weight of his past to chain him down. Rather, he needed to rise, to surge forward, fueled by both guilt and determination. Max, his loyal companion, seemed to sense the change in him too. The dog nudged against his leg, a reassuring presence that simultaneously grounded him and reminded him of the mission at hand. Jake knelt down, resting a hand on Max's strong back, and shared his decision. "We're going to find Emily's mom, whatever it takes." There was a small library in town, a place where the echoes of whispers could blend with the rustle of pages. Maybe they would find something there, a lead, a name, anything. The journey through the town felt heavier now, the air thick with uncertainty and the weight of suspicious stares. Yet, he pressed on, pushing the past to the back of his mind. Inside the library, time seemed to stand still. The soft rustle of pages turned, and the musty scent of old books surrounded him like an embrace. Jake settled at a rickety wooden table and began to sift through records. His fingers brushed over names and dates, searching for clues. What had been hidden? What had been said? Each glance felt like an ascension, climbing the walls built by anger and misunderstanding. His meticulous searching led him down various rabbit holes, but he found himself increasingly drawn to accounts of recent community meetings where Emily's mother had been vocal. As he dug deeper, he uncovered a few articles hinting at local corruption, tensions between city officials and activists roiling just beneath the surface. Each article felt like a thread that could lead somewhere, and his resolve hardened. He didn't just want to uncover the truth. He craved justice, both for Emily and for his own past. The longer he lingered in the library, the more a sense of purpose ignited inside him. There was no room for fear now. He was driven by the need to act. But that all-too-familiar doubt crept back into his mind. What if he wasn't equipped for this? The battles he had fought had been ones of flesh and blood, but this one was waged in the shadows, fueled by whispers and half-truths. As he weighed those doubts, a flash caught his eye, a name that linked both the town's power players and Emily's mother in a tangled web of conflict. His heart raced. This could be the lead he was desperately seeking. Would this name lead him to uncover the truth, or would it deepen his entanglement in the town's murky affairs? With newfound urgency, Jake realized the gravity of his next steps. He shared this revelation with Emily, her face a mixture of hope and apprehension. "Do you think we can find her?" she asked, eyes wide with innocence and fear. Jake nodded, but his heart did a bitter twist. The tightrope he was walking had become a precarious balancing act where each step forward carried the weight of uncertain consequences. He knew the time was fast approaching when he would have to confront the powerful figures in this community. The shadows that had haunted him were merging with the rising stakes of this fight. The confrontation loomed like a storm on the horizon, and Jake could feel the electricity in the air. Would he be strong enough to stand against the tide? Suddenly, the library felt claustrophobic, pressing down on him, as if the walls themselves were holding their collective breath. It was time to step into the light, to separate the threads of fear and find his true strength. He glanced back at Emily, drawing every ounce of courage he had. A new resolve settled within him. He wouldn't allow fear to dictate his actions any longer. The quest for truth felt imminent yet fraught with danger. As they stepped into the fading sunlight outside, Jake inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. It was not just about Emily's mother anymore. It was about wrestling free from the grips of his past, reclaiming his identity. There would be no backing down. But as they walked toward the next place that could hold answers, a shadowy figure appeared in the distance, and Jake's heart sank as a chilling realization washed over him. The confrontation was already beginning. Jake's instincts flared as he locked eyes with the shadowy figure. The stranger stood at the edge of the library's parking lot, half concealed by the waning daylight. A chill swept through Jake. Was this person a threat or a potential ally? As Emily clung to his side, nervously glancing at him, he felt the weight of his duty double. This wasn't just about finding answers anymore. It was about protecting her. Max, ever the vigilant guardian, growled softly, his body tense. Jake felt a familiar knot of anxiety forming in his stomach, but he pushed it aside. This was a moment to unfold his courage. He took a step forward, challenging the figure with a hardened gaze. "Who are you?" he called out, his voice steadier than he felt. The figure stepped into the light. A tall man, face lined with weariness but eyes sharp and calculating. "I know about Emily's mother," he said without preamble, glancing around as if afraid of being overheard. "And I know what happened to her." Jake's heart thudded loudly in his chest. This was the kind of lead he'd been seeking, yet with it came a wave of unease. "What do you mean?" he pressed, shifting his stance to protect Emily, who peered curiously from behind him. The man took a cautious step closer. "There are things you should understand about this town, and the people who walk its streets. Corruption runs deep, and it's dangerous to dig too deep. But—" he hesitated, weighing his next words. "I want to help." With a quick glance at Emily, Jake assessed the situation. On one hand, a mysterious stranger promising help. On the other, the shadow of his own judgment clouded by paranoia. Recollections of his past battles stirred restlessly within him, reminders that allies were scarce, and trust was often misplaced. "Who are you?" Jake reiterated, his voice laced with suspicion. The man's face remained an unreadable mask, and Jake's protective instincts flared. "Call me Frank," the man replied. "I used to work closely with Emily's mother. She uncovered something big, Jake. Something that's deeply tied to those you're up against." As Frank's words settled in, Jake's mind raced. Uncovering something big. This hinted more at a conspiracy than he had anticipated, and it amplified his determination. But what about the cost? What had Emily's mother stumbled upon? "You're putting yourself in danger," Jake said softly, looking down at Emily. The little girl's eyes shimmered with both fear and a glimmer of anticipation. "We can get the police involved." "It's not that simple," Frank interrupted, his tone urgent. "I've seen how they operate. They'll bury this just like they buried her. You need to trust me, to trust that I can guide you through this mess." Jake took a slow, measured breath. The stakes were rapidly rising. The danger was palpable. But with it came the realization that some measures required risks. "What do you want?" he asked finally, eyes narrowing. "Justice," Frank replied almost passionately. "For her, for you. But I need you to understand the depth of the pit we're standing at the edge of." As Frank spoke, Jake felt the weight of a new understanding crystallize within him. He was no longer just a protector in search of a missing person. He was becoming an active participant in a larger battle against corruption, one that demanded courage and wit he had yet to fully uncover within himself. "Let's find her," Jake finally said, resolve pouring forth. "But we do this smart. We won't blast through doors. We'll find out what we're dealing with first." Max, sensing a shift in the atmosphere, leaned closer, and Emily, emboldened by the conversation, stepped forward. "Can we really save my mom?" she asked, filled with a mix of childlike hope and underlying anxiety. Jake knelt beside her to meet her gaze, feeling the intense knot of responsibility almost twist him inside out. "We will do everything we can," he said, his heart pumping with a newfound determination that ignited within. It was more than a promise. It was a declaration. Frank nodded, a knowing look in his eyes. "Good. Then follow me. The real battle starts now, and it won't be pretty." As they started moving, Jake felt the full weight of his resolve. There was no turning back. He was embracing the role of fighter. But a whisper of doubt nagged at him. What unforeseen dangers lay ahead? And could he truly rise to face them and protect Emily? With each step into the darkening dusk, he felt the pulse of urgency mount. The first confrontation loomed larger than ever, creeping closer as shadows gathered. The real threat was yet to reveal itself. They were merely at the beginning of a most harrowing journey. The dimly lit streets wrapped around them like a cloak of foreboding. Jake walked with a renewed sense of purpose, but doubts wormed into his mind like insidious whispers. He had made a choice to step into a treacherous realm, but the path lay muddy with uncertainty. "Stay close, Emily," he instructed as they trailed behind Frank, who moved with a practiced caution that heightened Jake's anxiety. Each step felt like an intrusion into an unknown world, one Jake had learned to navigate through instinct rather than experience. "Are we going to find my mom soon?" Emily's voice was small, resonating with hope, but tinged with the weight of countless unanswered questions. Her largest fear, was it becoming his? "Soon, I promise," he replied, though the promise felt fragile. The truth was, he had no idea how far the shadows reached, or what they might encounter. As they approached a weathered building that stood apart from the rest, Frank turned to face them, his expression hardening. "This is where it all begins. Your mother's trail leads here. But I must stress caution. There are people who want to keep her story buried." Jake swallowed hard, a surge of determination coursing through him. The exhilaration of stepping forward into the unknown mingled with the fear gnawing at his insides. "What should we expect?" he asked, eyes narrowing as he prepared himself mentally for whatever lay ahead. Frank's lips pressed into a thin line. "Injustice speaks loudly here, but it hides behind the guise of safety. Trust no one. Question everything. The moment you take things at face value, you lose." Feeling pressure from Frank's words, Jake straightened. He had faced the shadows of his past, but now he feared an even darker reality of deep-seated corruption, ones tethered to Emily's mother. As they entered the building, Jake felt the air thicken. Dim lights flickered overhead while the dull hum of machinery buzzed in the background. Nothing felt right. He couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. "Is this a smart move?" he murmured to Frank as they navigated through alleyways of crates and the lingering smell of mildew. "Smart as navigating through the dark with your eyes open. You'll understand soon enough," Frank replied, urgency lacing his tone. Jake could almost taste the urgency, throbbing with each pulse of his heart. With every step, the echoes of Emily's voice haunted him, her innocence hanging in the balance. She deserved answers, and he would find a way to grant her that, even if it tested him to his limits. They began to uncover scraps of paperwork, boxes filled with reports that were shrouded in mystery. Jake knelt down to examine a pile but hesitated. A chill flickered through him. This felt like trespassing on hidden truths. Yet, the notion of finding a piece that could lead them closer to Emily's mother had his heart racing. "Let's split up to cover more ground," Jake suggested, his voice steadier than he felt. The thought of separating from even Frank filled him with dread, but the desire to push forward outweighed his instinct to cling to safety. "Fine. But I suggest you trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it usually is," Frank warned, casting a wary glance around the cramped area. Jake nodded, steeling himself as he moved into the next room. Each creak of the floorboards felt amplified, tension tightening around him like a vice. Searching silently, he rifled through folders, each filled with unmarked papers laden with secrets he was not ready to unearth. Just as he began to piece a connection, a shadow flickered across the doorway behind him. His pulse quickened. "Emily!" he shouted instinctively, heart pounding as he imagined her in danger. "Jake?" Her small voice echoed as she stepped into view. Clarity cut through his worry. But in her gaze was a lingering innocence teetering on the brink of dread. It illuminated a powerful truth buried deep within him. He couldn't merely protect her. He had to embrace the fight. Then, his internal alarm blared as he turned, eyes scanning for the source of the sudden chill. The confrontation approached, and for the first time in his life, Jake felt the weight of battle coursing through his veins. He wasn't just stepping into darkness, he was becoming a beacon, an unyielding force aiming to bring justice where shadows whispered. And just as clarity infused his purpose, a loud crash reverberated through the building, further testing his resolve. He turned quickly to Emily, fear creeping back into the moment. "Stay here, and stay quiet," he instructed, clenching his fists. The stakes lurked dangerously high. Someone was here, and they didn't intend to let him find the truth. Jake's eyes narrowed in determination. The time had come to face the real darkness that had pursued him. Would he be able to protect Emily and confront the hidden adversaries lurking in the shadows? As he braced for whatever horror awaited, it became apparent that this was only the beginning. The question remained, would he uncover the truths before it consumed them both? The tension in the air thickened, an oppressive force that stifled Jake's breath as he turned slowly, trying to locate the source of the crash. Shadows seemed to stretch and writhe, playfully mocking his sense of security. Was it just his fear playing tricks, or was someone really waiting to pounce? Each echo of his heartbeat matched the rapid-fire thoughts cluttering his mind. "Emily, stay in the corner. I mean it," he whispered urgently. The line between bravery and recklessness blurred within him, challenge and vulnerability merging as he held his ground. She was counting on him, and in that moment, he realized he could no longer remain on the periphery of her fight. He had to step forward, not just as her protector, but as a formidable player on this dangerous board. Instead of retreating, he steeled himself and moved cautiously towards the sound. Every footfall felt like a declaration of intent, his senses heightened. The darkness felt alive, crawling beneath his skin, whispering doubts in his ear. Could he truly be the hero in this story? Inner uncertainty began shifting into something more powerful. A wildfire of determination ignited within him. He had not come this far to back down now. Jake's eyes swept the room, scanning for movement amidst the stacks of boxes. Without turning to Emily, he muttered, "If anything happens, you run." The silence that followed was palpable, only broken by the distant thump of something heavy hitting the floor. His grip on the flashlight tightened, illuminating the flickering visage of a door at the far side of the room. Compelled by instinct, he advanced toward it, drawn ever closer to the heart of the mystery. In the muted glow, he caught sight of a piece of paper sticking out from under a box. He hesitated but finally decided that uncovering the truth was essential. As he knelt to retrieve it, he could almost hear Emily's voice urging him forward, underlining the importance of each moment. He pulled the crumpled paper free and smoothed it against his knee, the urgency of his actions emboldened by the words scrawled across it. Names, places, dates. It was a web of connections that felt tangible, yet elusive. It seemed like breadcrumbs left in the dark. But who had left them? And why? Jake struggled to piece it together, adrenaline rushing through him as he felt the potential vein of power that knowledge represented. It was more than just information. It was a lifeline for Emily's mother, a stepping stone on the path that reached into the murky depths of a conspiracy he had yet to understand. Suddenly, the door creaked open wide, slamming against the wall with a force that sent a jolt of fear through him. From the threshold, an imposing figure emerged, silhouette framed by the dim light behind them. Jake instinctively shifted in front of Emily, protecting her with a stance that felt powerful yet precarious. "Who are you?" The figure stepped forward, and Jake's heart raced, recognizing the challenge issued. This confrontation would not merely test his physical abilities, but also the conviction of his resolve. "Step aside, kid," the stranger demanded, the tone laced with menace and authority. Jake instinctively clenched his jaw, gripping the paper tight enough to crumple it. "No, I'm not going to let you pass," he replied, voice firmer than he felt. What had begun as a fear-driven instinct evolved into a protective barricade, a decision steeped in the understanding that this fight wasn't just for him. He wanted to demand answers, to sow doubt in their conviction that they could operate out of the light, to disrupt their plans before they even began. Just as he prepared to confront his new adversary, another crash shattered the moment, a flurry of chaos that erupted from the next room down the corridor. Panic ignited within him. The fear of the unknown returned, but even more pressing was the urgency to protect Emily. "Get ready!" he shouted, adrenaline coursing through him as he prepared to face whatever came next. He was no longer just a bystander. He was an active participant in this harrowing search. As the scene unfolded before him, Jake felt an awakening, a recognition of his potential. The battle between fear and determination raged within him, and with it came an empowering clarity that he was ready to tackle this storm head-on. The truth lurked just beyond the door, and he was poised to confront whatever darkness awaited. Would he muster the strength to confront the figure standing before him and push deeper into the shadows? The crash had changed everything. It was time for a decision that would lead him further into this perilous night. The room crackled with tension as Jake faced the stranger, the weight of his own choices pressing down on him like a tangible force. Time seemed suspended in that instant, the air thick with apprehension as he gauged the figure's intentions. The shadows loomed behind the intruder, seemingly poised to swallow them both whole if he faltered. Jake cast a quick glance at Emily, her wide eyes full of fear and trust. She needed him to act, and he couldn't crumble now. With a deep breath, he pushed back the fears gnawing at him. He had gone too far to turn back. The paper crinkled in his grip, a physical reminder that the stakes had escalated beyond a simple confrontation. He had the truth, however fragmented, and it was a weapon he could wield. "Who are you?" Jake repeated, channeling his voice into an echo of authority despite the tremor of his heart. The figure paused, a predatory glint in their eye that made Jake's pulse quicken. "Just here for what I came for. Step aside before you regret it," the stranger warned, confidence lacing their tone. Every syllable dripped with an intensity that threatened to erode Jake's resolve. "No," he said, his own voice sharper this time, forged through desperation. "I know things about her." He gestured subtly toward Emily, who remained rigid but fiercely alert behind him, the fight unwilling to abandon her spirit. Inwardly, Jake wrestled with doubt. Did he actually know enough to stand firm? The stranger's dismissive snicker felt like a dagger, but it steeled Jake's spine further. He might not have all the pieces, but he had enough conviction to challenge this monster. "Things you don't understand, kid. Leave before it gets ugly," the figure countered, stepping closer. The distance closed like an impending storm, and instinctively, Jake took a defensive posture. As the echo of another crash dissipated into the tense confines of the room, Jake's resolve crystallized into purpose. This was it. The time for hesitancy had passed. "Whatever's going on, I won't let you hurt her," he declared, the fire of determination igniting a spark of courage deep within. He realized the truth. Not only was he defending Emily, he was defending his newfound identity, forged from the chaos he had encountered in the search for her mother. Every moment of fear had crafted a foundation of strength within him that he never knew he had. A chill swept through the air as the figure's demeanor shifted. Within moments, the mask of menace deepened, revealing the unwavering stare of someone unafraid of consequences. Jake caught a glimpse of the chaos behind them, a faint silhouette moving in the darkness, and a part of him screamed to retreat. But retreating meant surrender, and surrender was no longer an option. With unconventional clarity, he felt the flame of determination blaze within him, understanding that courage often means standing firm against overwhelming odds. He squared his shoulders and summoned the rawness of his emotions, feeling a power surging within, something more primal and instinctive. "Back off!" he commanded, an unexpected fierceness resonating in his voice. "I won't let you through." In response, the stranger's laughter rang unsettlingly, sending shivers down Jake's spine. "You want her? Fine. But know that what you think is protection may lead you deeper into darkness than you can imagine." The cryptic threat hung in the air like regretful smoke, and the shadows thickened around them, playing tricks on his senses. Just as he prepared to stand his ground, a sudden, intense rustling from the corridor demanded both their attention. Jake's instincts kicked in again. He had a decision to make. The crumpled paper pulsated in his pocket, the lifeline that could unravel the mystery. Would he risk everything right now for a turn of fate he wasn't prepared for? The darkness loomed, and Jake felt the weight of Emily's gaze. Would he plunge into the unknown, spiraling both into danger as the clock ticked relentlessly, or could he harness the fire kindled within him to redefine the essence of who he had become? With the figure's threat lingering like a storm cloud above them, Jake could feel destiny pressing in on all sides. The time had come to face not only the figure before him, but the demons of doubt whispering in the back of his mind. Would he summon the courage to step fully into this fight and emerge victorious, or lose himself in the shadows he sought to conquer? Jake inhaled sharply, mentally peeling back layers of fear, his mind racing as his heart thrummed against his ribs like a war drum. The rustling in the corridor seemed to blend into a cacophony of uncertainty, amplifying the weight of the decision before him. He was no longer just making a stand for Emily. He was staking a claim on his own life. The life he wanted, built on choices rather than chaos. "Stay behind me," Jake whispered to Emily. She nodded, her eyes narrowing with resolve. He could feel the energy pulsing between them, a silent pact that fortified him. The figure inched closer, their shadow stretching ominously over the remnants of calm they had clung to. "You think courage will save you? You're just a kid playing hero." Disdain dripped from their words, but it ignited something inside Jake, an unwillingness to be belittled. He stepped forward, forcing himself to stand shoulder to shoulder with the intruder. It was a calculated risk, one he knew might lead to ruin, yet retreat was a path he refused to consider. "You don't know what I've been through. I'm not afraid of you." The stranger, taken aback by the sudden shift in Jake's demeanor, paused momentarily, as if weighing his odds. In that moment, Jake felt the rush of realization. He held the power to reframe this confrontation. No longer was he just a scared boy. He was a protector, a seeker of truth. He pulled the crumpled paper from his pocket, brandishing it like a shield. "Do you recognize this?" Jake demanded, the fire in his voice unwavering. The figure's expression twisted from contempt to curiosity. "It's the last piece of proof I need to expose the truth about Emily's mother. You want something from her? You'll have to go through me first." To his surprise, the stranger's sneer faltered. "You think that piece of paper means anything?" they replied, attempting to regain their threatening posture but faltering slightly. "You have no idea what powerful people are involved in this." "Maybe not," Jake admitted, his resolve hardening. "But I'm willing to find out. If it means I have to stand my ground right now, I will. For Emily, and for the truth." The stranger's eyes narrowed, a flicker of anger igniting within them. Jake sensed the shift in the air, a palpable tension that felt like a tightrope stretched impossibly thin. In the depths of their gaze, Jake confronted the darkness that had haunted both Emily's existence and his own. Just when the atmosphere grew unbearably thick, an unexpected sound surged from the corridor, urgent footsteps. Both Jake and the stranger turned, the figure momentarily hindered by curiosity. And it was Jake's chance. "Now!" he urged Emily, and instinctively she dashed beside him. They moved towards the entrance, hearts racing in unison, adrenaline igniting their escape. Yet just as they reached the threshold, the intruder lunged, fingertips brushing against Jake's arm. In a split second, Jake felt the cold grip of fear wrestle with the embers of courage swirling inside him. "Remember this, kid. You've just opened a door you can't close," the stranger spat, voice low, laced with venom. Jake didn't respond, didn't have time to wallow in doubt. The urgency of the moment propelled him forward, and as he burst through the exit, the world outside felt simultaneously liberating and threatening. Every step into the night was a testament to his evolution, a transformation from passive onlooker into an active participant in a game far larger than himself. As they found themselves on the street, catching their breath, Jake realized that this was merely the beginning. The shadow of the figure loomed behind them, the repercussions of his defiance lingering. "I won't let you down, Emily," he assured her, though the weight of the unknown cast a long shadow over his words. But deep within, Jake wrestled with the dawning realization. Every step he took would unravel threads he might not be able to weave back together. What secrets had he unknowingly awakened, and what dark truths lay hidden just beyond the horizon? He could feel the relentless pressure mounting as they made their way into the uncertain moonlit night, each heartbeat echoing the complexity of their situation. The game was far from over, and Jake sensed there were revelations yet to come, revealing both the depths of his own character and the darkness lurking within the world he had just begun to navigate. What would he uncover when he delved deeper into the heart of the mystery surrounding Emily's mother? And when would he learn that sometimes the truth can be as perilous as the darkness it hides? Jake and Emily hurried down the dimly lit street, breaths mingling with the chill of the night air. The adrenaline coursing through Jake's veins was a potent reminder that he had stepped onto a treacherous path. With each stride, a cacophony of thoughts cascaded through his mind, questions and fears battling for dominance. What if they weren't safe? What if that figure tracked them down? "Jake, we need to get to my place." Emily's voice was steady, but he could hear the tremor lurking within. She had already faced so much, and now they were tangled in a web of danger. He pressed forward, uncertainty coiling tightly in his chest. As they turned the corner, the street narrowed, and shadows loomed larger, magnified by the flickering streetlights. Jake felt the oppressive weight of the night pressing down upon them. With each passing moment, the implications of his actions unfurled like a sinister flower, blooming darker with every thought. The prospect of confronting the truths about Emily's mother was both exciting and terrifying. "What do you think they want?" he asked, trying to pierce the heaviness that wrapped around them like fog. "I don't know," Emily whispered, "but I'm scared they're trying to hurt me. We have to be careful." Her words ignited a swell of protectiveness within him. A flicker of resolve shone through his self-doubt. This was no longer just an emotional rescue. It was a commitment to safeguarding Emily's future. If the truth held the power to heal, then it was imperative that they navigated this perilous journey together. Jake glanced at Emily, her profile illuminated by the pale glow of the moon. While fear flashed in her eyes, determination anchored her features. He admired her courage, which in turn fueled his own. "Let's get somewhere safe, then we can figure out the next step," he suggested, an impulsive plan crystallizing in his mind. They ducked into a nearby alley, hearts pounding, the walls confining their breath to a shared rhythm. As they leaned against a cold brick wall, Jake knew he had to decide how to confront the shadows waiting on the fringes of their lives. Inspiration sparked in him, a suppressed instinct, honed from years of feeling powerless. The same instinct that had pushed him to stand up to the stranger was now urging him further. "The paper," he mumbled, thoughts racing. "It contained something, but I don't know what." "You're not just going to leave it, are you?" "No," he replied, resolve strengthening. "I've seen too much to back down. We need to unveil what this really means, not just for you, but for both of us." Emily's gaze sharpened, and for a moment, the weight of the world melted away, leaving only mutual understanding. "Let's check it again," she suggested. Jake pulled the crumpled paper from his pocket, heart racing with anticipation. He carefully unfolded it, as if it were a fragile relic. The dim light revealed complex engravings, and a type of language that had piqued his curiosity. "This doesn't look like anything normal," he murmured, confusion etched in his brow. "It has to mean something," Emily insisted. "Every detail counts." Vowing to decipher the enigmas before them, Jake's fingers traced the etchings. He felt a sudden thrill. Perhaps this piece of paper would grant them a glimpse of the truth. But with the exhilaration, darker realizations churned within. Powerful individuals were tied to this mystery, ones capable of manipulating lives with ease. Suddenly his resolve was tinged with anxiety. "What if we discover things we can't unsee?" he questioned aloud, the stakes multiplying. Emily placed a hand on his arm, grounding him. "We already did. But we can't back away now." Jake understood. The challenge before him was not just the pursuit of truth. It was personal growth in the face of adversity. Unraveling secrets now meant unveiling the fibers of who he could become. In that transient moment of vulnerability, a newfound mission began to stir, one that insisted on forging ahead, despite being steeped in uncertainties. He met her gaze with renewed fervor. "Then let's uncover everything." As they left the alley, moving towards an uncertain future, Jake sensed that they were no longer merely fleeing from darkness. They were stepping toward revelations that could shatter everything they knew. And with each cautious movement forward, he realized, sometimes the thicker the fog, the more profound the clarity that awaited just beyond it. Would they be prepared for the revelations that awaited them? Or would those discoveries shove them further into the shadows they sought to escape? The night air deepened as Jake and Emily emerged from the alley, a palpable tension weaving through their movements. With each step, Jake's mind buzzed with fervent anticipation, yet doubt creased the edges of his thought. The insignia on the paper nestled in his pocket throbbed like an unsolved puzzle, its encrypted message both a promise and a threat. "Where to?" Emily's voice broke through his cloud of contemplation, challenging him to define their next destination. The stakes felt impossibly high, yet surprisingly, that pressure compelled him to rise. "Your place. First," he decided, adrenaline sharpening his focus. "We'll have more time there. We can study that paper without looking over our shoulders." They walked briskly, maintaining a careful distance from the streetlights that flickered ominously. The familiar path to Emily's apartment stretched before them, a college dorm turned sanctuary, one channeling both dread and safety. Yet what awaited there transformed every step into an exercise in self-discipline, a trashing of his older self, the one that shied away from confrontation. As they entered the building, Jake felt the walls close around them, nearly suffocating him. It was one thing to be out in the world, the adrenaline fueling their flight. Now, seclusion threatened to seal the doors to their potential next steps. Inside the cramped quarters, the air was tinged with the scent of old books and the lingering hope of refuge. "Let's clear a space," Emily suggested, her brow furrowed with determination. They moved old papers and stray books off Emily's small desk, transforming the area into a command post. "I need to know what to look for," he said, staring at the intricate designs on the paper, as though they held the keys to unlock a secret dimension of truth. The weight of his responsibility settled in, the need to harness his inner strength becoming paramount. "What if this piece is a link to something significant, a clue to your mother's mystery?" Emily leaned closer, her confident source now igniting his. "It could be anything. But we need to dig deep, Jake. We can't take anything for granted." Together they studied the paper, tracing the markings with their fingertips as if summoning the past to cut through present obscurities. They spent moments toggling between fear and fascination, images rising from its surface. With every theory whispered, Jake felt pieces of himself morphing in ways he never anticipated, their intensity entwining with the urgency of the situation. "Hold on," Jake said, glancing at a repeating symbol on the paper. Recognition washed over him, igniting an understanding that clicked into place. "This doesn't just represent your mother, but seems connected to something larger. It feels like a badge or a title." Emily's eyes widened, and he witnessed her struggles morph into determination. They balanced their understanding with risk. Jake felt the urge to hide from what it could mean, but paradoxically, the pull of clarity also awoke a dormant resolve within him. "What if confronting this truth gives us back your mother?" Jake offered hesitantly. It was more than a casual suggestion. It was an invitation to an entirely different way of approaching contentment. He felt a shift within, a sense of purpose overtaking gut-wrenching fear. Before Emily could respond, the atmosphere shifted again. The gnawing sensation of being watched clung to the edges of the room. Jake's heart raced. We should be careful. What if they're already aware that we found this?" Their eyes met, and they both acknowledged the dangerous shadow creeping back into their lives. The comfort of discovery was abruptly stifled by the threat of exorbitant consequences. "Then we need a plan," Emily said, her voice steely, "one that keeps us ahead of whoever is after us." Jake nodded, the first tendrils of a strategy taking shape in his mind. Should they reach out for help? Who could they trust? Or would retreat be their best defense? The idea gnawed at him, but deep down he felt the urge to action override uncertainty. For the first time in his life, confronting the unknown had become a direct path to discovering his own fortitude. A battle for Emily's peace, a plunge into the seas of personal growth. And just as he was ready to outline the next steps, a sound from the hallway shattered their thoughts, a whisper of impending danger emerging from the shadows. "Who's there?" Jake called out, his voice steady despite the jagged pulse of fear thrumming in his neck. The response came as a low voice drawing nearer. Jake's heart dropped as he recognized a grim reality. The confrontation he had feared was barreling toward them, knocking at their door. The moment had arrived. Would they have the resolve to face what lay beyond, or would this be the tipping point that forced them into a darkness from which there would be no return? Jake stood before the closed door, an impending storm brewing inside him as he faced the uncertain shadows looming beyond. His instincts flared. It was no longer just about finding Emily's mother. It was about preventing the shadow of despair from engulfing them both. "Stay put," Jake urged Emily, eyes sharp, heart pounding. He took a steadying breath, channeling the fierce protector he had become over the span of their harrowing journey. Though laced with doubt, every ounce of his being screamed that this was the moment he needed to stand firm and summon the strength concealed within him. As he moved closer to the door, memory after memory flickered through his mind. The sounds of gunfire, the camaraderie, and the weight of despair that can only be borne by those who have lived in darkness. Those memories once anchored him in fear, but now, they flowed into a resolve stronger than he thought himself capable of cultivating. "Whoever is there, you're not going to intimidate us," he shouted, confident tones reverberating against the stark walls of Emily's sanctuary. The silence that followed felt like an eternity, pressing against him, amplifying the moment, yet holding its breath in dread. Then a voice came through, painted with a sharp edge but cloaked in authority. "You're meddling in things you don't understand, kid. Open the door, and this can end peacefully." Jake's spine stiffened as he exchanged glances with Emily. Fear flickered in her eyes, but there was also burgeoning courage. There was no peace to be found in submission. Not for them, not for anyone who had fought for their future. If he was going to shield Emily from the darkness creeping closer, he had to confront it head-on. "I won't let you hurt her or anyone else," he declared, determination drumming in his chest. The air thickened as he braced himself for whatever might follow, feeling a tangible shift in the atmosphere. "No one is going to get hurt if you cooperate. Just open the door." Jake had learned trust was dangerous, and it wasn't wisdom lost in nostalgia. It was a lesson carved into his very being. He needed answers. This figure could very well be a trap, yet faint glimmers of truth shimmered out of reach. "Nobody's opening anything until we know who you are," he retorted, a flurry of adrenaline pumping through him, emboldening his stance. It was a gamble, a throat-choking uncertainty coiled within him, but for Emily's sake, he was ready to contend with any threat. The ambient silence grew pregnant, suffocating, as if the walls themselves were leaning closer, anxious to swallow them whole. "Well played," the stranger remarked, impatience seeping through his tone. "But I must warn you, stubbornness may become your downfall." The words hung in the air like a knife's edge, sharp and threatening. Unsure of their next steps, an idea sparked within Jake, igniting a deeper clarity. "What if we can make a deal?" he proposed, voice steady. "Help us find her, and we'll consider your terms. Otherwise, your only option is to confront me. I'm not backing down." Laughter burst forth from the other side, a sound devoid of humor, a chilling cackle that rippled through Jake's very core. "You think you can make deals in a game where lives hang in the balance? You're naive." Naivety, he realized, plagued him all too often, a remnant of the boy he was becoming to shed. But now, he harnessed a different power, one infused with resilience. "You think you can intimidate me? You don't know me," he shot back, realizing with unexpected clarity just how far he had come. In that moment, Jake felt a surge of ants-in-his-pants energy, a transformation igniting within him. Each heartbeat resonated with fortitude. He craved not just survival, he demanded agency. Whatever was out there, he would not cower beneath the weight of despair. Since stepping onto this path, he had embraced the protector role. But now he was evolving into so much more. A fighter willing to reclaim the clarity that carving through shadows could bring. Suddenly, without warning, the stranger lunged. The door flew open, and there stood a rough-edged figure, eyes glinting with menace, the silhouette casting long shadows across the ground. The time for words had ended, and reality twisted into an unforgiving state. Jake felt adrenaline propel him forward. "Emily, run!" he shouted, positioning himself as a buffer between her and the intruder, body rigid and ready to engage. But fate carved another path. Just as the figure made their move, a tidal wave of noise erupted from behind them, a cacophony of sirens blaring, an unexpected backup. Emergency lights painted the dimly lit room with flashes of red and blue. The sudden disturbance startled the figure, freezing him mid-lunge. With the pressure of the unexpected moment, Jake seized the opportunity, his instincts overpowering every flicker of fear. "This is your last chance. Walk away now," he commanded, voice firm. The stranger hesitated, eyes darting toward the door. In that split second, Jake realized he had transformed this moment. He understood now he held the power to command respect. The figure sneered, momentarily caught off guard by the unexpected reinforcements rattling against the night. "You think this ends here?" he hissed, retreating into the shadows with a menacing glare, leaving the door ajar like a broken promise. Jake turned, breath coming in ragged gasps. "We have to go. Now!" he urged Emily, who regarded him with awe, mixed with trepidation. As they raced past the door, a door that stood as a reminder of their confrontation with darkness, it signaled the beginning of profound growth. Clarity crystallized. Jake felt reins of purpose entwined around his spirit, pushing him forward through streets he'd once believed were unforgiving. "Are we safe?" Emily asked breathlessly, looking up at him as they dashed down the stairs. "For now," Jake replied, eyes fierce with determination. "We will be. We'll keep uncovering truths, whatever it takes." In that unexpected moment, standing on the cusp of uncertainty, Jake felt it, a profound empowerment coursing through him. The truth was elusive, but he had unlocked a vital element of internal strength and maturity. He wasn't just fighting for Emily's mother, he was fighting for himself. Every stride through the biting night air filled him with resolve. He could reclaim the man he'd thought lost amid his tumultuous past. Through the labyrinth of challenges that lay ahead, Jake was ready to face them. With Emily by his side, this was more than a quest for truth. It was a relentless drive for redemption, a journey that demanded courage in the uncertainty that enveloped their path. And as they left the shadows behind them, Jake knew with clarity, this was his moment, and nothing would stand in his way. The fight for hope, love, and belonging had just begun. Now here's where you come in. If you believe in stories of personal transformation and want to witness more journeys like Jake's, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us share these life-changing narratives with the world. And don't forget to comment your reactions and theories about the ending. I want to hear from you. Finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's spread the courage to confront the shadows together.